Hi, I'm Dr. Susy Menis and I'm a law lecturer at Birkbeck School of Law. I would like to introduce my book, A History of Women's Prisons in England, The Myth of Reformation. This is a revisionist prison history which brings to the forefront the relationship between gender and policy. It examines women's prisons in England since the late 18th century to the beginning of the 20th century. It draws attention to the detrimental effect the orthodox closed prison has on penal reform. It examines the clash between what was conceptualized as desirable prison policy against the actual implementation and implications of such a penalty on the prisoner. The monograph challenges previous claim made about the invisibility of women prisoners and women prisons in historical penal policy and provides an original analysis of the open prison and particularly focusing on HMP Askham Grange female open prison. The object of this research study is threefold: to construct a historiography of women's prison, to assess the experimental nature of imprisonment, and to argue that the reformation of the prisoner is a myth. There has been little research that has shed new light or that has challenged previous claim made by historical studies on the development of women's prisons. I argue that the unchallenged women's prison historiography has led to a stagnation in the discipline. Historical finding not only casts doubt on the discourse of women offenders' invisibility, but their examination also suggests of a possible contribution that the population of women prisoners had in shaping mainstream prison policy. Moreover, the book explores the experimental nature of the prison penalty. I argue that this issue has caused the prison system to experience a permanent state of crisis. The crisis reflects the clash between what was conceptualized in penal discourse as desirable prison policy and prison regime against the actual implementation and implications of such a penalty on the prisoner. Despite this crisis, however, the prison system has become firmly embedded in the fabric of society. It is only with the carceral clawback concept by Pascal Len that an explanation of this durability could be given. Lastly, prison discourses have developed the understanding that reformation stands for the process through which the prisoner is rehabilitated or untrained from her criminal or deviant tendency, thus facilitating social integration as a new law-abiding citizen. However, I submit that reformation of the prisoner is a myth. Historical examination reveals that although reformation came to be seen as one of the core aims of imprisonment, in reality, its implementation was almost impractical. This argument is supported through the following three examinations. First, an assessment of the experimental nature of imprisonment as a primary penalty. Second, an assessment of the policy of training. And finally, an assessment of the role and function of the open prison within the context of mainstream prison policy.